The reason we're here really is because we were doing a show for the Royal Exchange Theatre back in 2010 and looking for somewhere to rehearse. We came to this building. It was a local building that rented out rooms, and we came here and we were here for 2 weeks rehearsing a show and realised that we were the only people in this building for 2 weeks and that this was a big building with lots of empty rooms and lots of potential. So we had a conversation with the church, who are the landlords, and we said, well, look, we've got no money, but if you can let us, if you're happy for us to just move in, we'd like to try and set up a community theatre and art space and see what we can do with it, see if we can bring some funding in. And that was back in, as I say, back in 2010. We moved in at the end of 2010, and then in May 2011 launched the building with a bit of an open day and balloons outside and jugglers and people doing capoeira and things in the front in the sunshine, and that's really it. That's where we began. So we set up the first project that we set up was for unemployed people. We made contact with the local job centre Plus, they sent us 20 people over. We made a big terrine of soup, I think was the first day, and we did drama and we did singing. We being myself, Simon Waters, who's a composer and a lyricist, and the Edge's musical director, Don Waters, who at that time was working. The three of us originally were working on running outreach projects together. Don's now the centre manager at the Edge. And that was the beginning of the relationship with the Job Centre that then developed and then became what we now call Jump, which is one of our core projects that we run, which are free arts activities for people who are out of work. The only bit of core funding that we receive is from Manchester City Council, and we're a cultural partner of Manchester, and that happened to us in 2012. And that's the only bit of core funding we get. It's not a huge amount. I mean, we're very grateful to them and it's fantastic. But otherwise our funding is project by project. So that's the challenge that we have. That's the challenge that most arts organisations and probably most charities at the moment are facing, is that core funding, operational costs are really, really hard to come by. There's money out there for projects, but no one wants to fund salaries or rent or overheads. And that's the struggle, that's the challenge. It's about providing access to the arts for anyone and everyone and finding what that way in is for different people. And it just so happens that this venue is in an area of quite a heavily arts engaged population. So a lot of the venues, the arts organisations in Manchester draw on this area for their audiences. Chorlton is quite an arts engaged area basically. And we need those people, we need everybody, because they are able to pay for evening classes, they're able to buy theatre tickets, they're able to eat in our cafe, and they can afford to do so, and we need that money because I don't think any charity can exist at the moment without generating some income as well, certainly not one as small as us. And a lot of the funders are looking to see that we are generating income as well. No funder wants us to be reliant on them. So every certainly the Arts Council, every application you make to the Arts Council has to have some match funding coming with it. So we have to focus as much on income generation. We rent out some of our rooms to theatre companies, to other groups who are running classes. Also, this local community is a community that doesn't want to see just an elitist, exclusive club for arts engaged people. This community around here wants an arts centre that is providing something for everybody. I don't think we would do well if we sort of swanned in here and set up expensive classes for, and asked for money for something that was for a privileged few. This catchment area wouldn't accept that. So they like that we're working with a wide variety of people. So I've been involved with the Royal Exchange Theatre for many years in Manchester. Started working for them back in 2002, and one of the first partnerships that we made, part of the education department of the Royal Exchange, was with the Booth Centre, which at that point was within a stone's throw of the theatre. And indeed a lot of the Boothies slept on the steps of the Royal Exchange, and the Education Department wanted to find a way of engaging the people that were sleeping on the steps of the Royal Exchange, basically. That's how the partnership began. And I was privileged enough to be the practitioner, and I've always been the practitioner on that partnership with the Royal Exchange and the Booth Centre. And when that partnership came to an end at the end of last year, at the end of 2014, we had the Edge was very much looking for that kind of a new partnership with an organisation. The Booth Centre and ourselves did a joint application to the Arts Council to continue the project, and that's so we're now funded to run that for the next 3 years, which is fantastic. The Booth Centre and the Royal Exchange have a relationship. I wouldn't call it, it's not a funded partnership, but they've maintained the relationship. There's still the Booth Centre still attend shows. There's still a progression group. I think there's about 5 or 6 individuals who work on different things with the Royal Exchange, different initiatives. So they've very much maintained the friendship, and I think they probably always will. The Booth Centre has, I think I'm right in saying, about 170 people a week come through its doors. I probably only see about 20 of those people a week. So we're always trying to bring in people who maybe aren't feeling confident, they've heard about the drama or they haven't heard about the drama. We're always looking in this period to bring in and encourage new people to join the group. What we're trying to do with this project, which is different to the partnership with the Royal Exchange, is we're trying to develop not just actors. We're trying to develop a theatre company, a Booth Centre theatre company that has stage managers, lighting technicians, lighting designers, sound technicians, costume designers, prop buyers. There's one participant at the Booth Centre who is a stunning visual artist. You can give him a painting and he will just replicate exactly, or an image, and he'll replicate it exactly as you've given it to him. So when we did Christmas Carol last year, we had some fantastic images of Scrooge and the Victorian London, and fun. So we're really looking to create, and front of house people as well. We're really looking to create a true theatre company with involvement from us, because obviously not everyone wants to perform. That's not everybody's cup of tea. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are in your life. Not everybody enjoys that. But obviously there are other ways in to being involved in theatre other than just performing, and we're always looking at ways of extending and expanding the involvement. I always celebrate the Booth Centre. I think the Booth Centre is amazing, and I think the success of the partnership is because of the Booth Centre. And the Royal Exchange would say the same as well. I've been involved in other partnerships over the years with different organisations through the Royal Exchange, through other places I've worked, and the success or failure of the project is very much about both those organisations. Obviously the arts organisation has to know what they're doing, of course they do, but the partner organisation has to buy into it. They have to buy into it 100% for it to be a success. They have to realise the importance of rehearsals. They have to realise the importance of everybody in the organisation supporting the project, encouraging people to keep coming to the project, bigging them up, telling them how wonderful they are, reminding them the session's on tomorrow morning, asking why they didn't come last week, making it an important and significant part of what they do as well. Other partnerships and projects have worked less well because it's an add-on. It's just an add-on, and it's not more important than getting that person that and that. It's just seen as a nice fluffy little add-on. The Booth Centre absolutely get the value of the arts, the value of engagement, the value of joining in and being part of something, and engaging in an activity, as I said before, that isn't always about troubleshooting. I will, the Booth Centre are what make this such a strong partnership. It never ceases to amaze me how brilliant people are, how if you raise the bar for people, actually they will raise, I can't think of a way to say this, but they will rise to the challenge. If you set the bar low, that's where people will reach. If you set the bar high, people will rise to the challenge and they'll surprise themselves. And because we focus so much on creating, as I said before, a theatre company, it's not about a group of individuals, it's about a company. And they feel themselves instinctively that they mustn't let each other down. They don't want to let each other down. And that's a lovely responsibility, actually, that people want to make it work for themselves but for each other. And so I really do see some people who I know are struggling. I know they're having a really hard time. They've told me, I can see it, that they at that particular time they're really, really struggling. But they'll do it anyway, they'll do the show anyway, and they'll excel. And they'll pull something out of the bag that I might have not known was there, and they might not have known was there. What I've learned over the years of doing this kind of work is that even the people who you think, oh, he's going to be fine, no, he'll be with us for the whole time, this is okay, stuff happens. And with the best will in the world, people can have to drop out or disappear. And that event can't crash the whole production. So the play, very rarely will I write a whole play with a beginning, a middle and an end with characters going on a journey. Because if one or two people disappear from that journey, the whole thing falls to pieces. As I understand it, the majority of organisations working with homeless people focus on trying to sort some accommodation out for people, trying to help them with their benefits, trying to get them into employment if possible. And that's great, and as we know, that's hugely important. But that's almost troubleshooting the negative rather than looking at what's the positive, what else can people do? Yes, they're homeless, but what else can they do apart from just being homeless and us tackling the homeless bit? What else can people do? Well, they can get involved in life, in the world, whether that's going to a history lecture, whether that's watching a movie that they put on at the Booth Centre and then talking about it afterwards, whether that's doing a creative writing session or doing some drama or some singing or some whatever it is. That's looking about what people can do and developing that. I think probably what happens to people when their lives start to go wrong is that they stop engaging with all the positive stuff that's out there, because they have to focus on fixing what's broken. And as I say, obviously that's really important. But then that's all that's ever happening to you. You're just constantly firefighting. Whereas involvement and engagement in activities, and that's what the Booth Centre is so fantastic about, it's about giving people opportunities to engage in positive activities. And they can be life-changing, whether that's drama or, as I say, going to a history talk. They schedule a lot of talks at the Booth Centre. That's going to trigger all sorts of other possibilities in your mind about where you might go, what you might do, how you might change your life, how you might get out of the situation that you're in. Participation in the arts gives you an opportunity to see an alternative, to imagine. And I don't mean become a professional actor or a professional singer, but being creative and, to quote one of our patrons, Mark Rylance, to tell and hear and experience stories is a way of imagining your way out of this situation. At the end, I don't ever want to leave the Booth Centre. I never want to stop working at the Booth Centre. I've been there every Friday, apart from being on holiday. I've been there every Friday for like 8 or 9 years. I just couldn't imagine not being part of that world. It's really important to me and to the Edge. So I don't want that to end. However, I guess what should be our goal is that we get to a point at the Booth Centre where we can step back and it runs itself. That there is a theatre company that is almost self-sufficient. I don't know if that's realistic because of the transient nature of the individuals that are there. I think that could be the reason why there'll always need to be an arts organisation in there and supporting the work. But I think it would be lovely to have stage managers, lighting technicians, sound designers, set builders, etc. That we know are there. But then again, also, you don't want that because you want people to move on. The successful booth centre will be an empty booth centre. Dream for the Edge would be to be able to know that funding was secured, really going into the future, so that we could really be much more strategic in our planning and our developing new partnerships. We're not looking to be any bigger. We're really happy with the kind of organisation that we are. Having said that, we can be doing more within the building. We've got the capacity to run more projects and to bring more people into the building. Certainly, we can have more activities going on. It's all subject to funding. So. This is one of our studios. This is Studio 2, where a wide variety of classes and rehearsals and different activities and workshops take place. Aspire, which is our youth theatre for children with Down syndrome, happens in here. The Sing, which is our weekly community choir, happens in here. All sorts of different things, rehearsals, etc. This is Studio 3. This also doubles up as a dressing room when we have shows on. So when we go into theatre mode, we shut down the art centre, and the studios become backstage. This, as I say, becomes the dressing room. But otherwise, it's used again for a variety of classes and workshops and rehearsals, and everybody uses it. So it might have children in it this afternoon, and then tomorrow morning it could have a professional theatre company in, and then the next day it could have Expressive Edge, which is our theatre company for actors with learning disabilities. So, you know, again, wide variety of use of you. And this is our theatre space. That stage was built by the amateurs in the 50s. We will be taking it down. It's very sweet, but it's quite old-fashioned and doesn't really serve a purpose. It's not probably the safest place to be. So we keep, the idea is that this is a studio theatre, a box, an empty box that can be transformed into whatever either we want to use it for or a visiting company want to use it for. So we're part of Big Imaginations, which is the Northwest Children's Theatre Touring Consortium. We're part of the group of venues that work together to bring, it's Arts Council funded, and we work together to bring really great high quality theatre from around the country for children. It enables us to bring companies that we wouldn't otherwise be able to afford, and to also do it without charging our audiences a fortune. Our most exciting new addition to the Edge, apart from this very attractive donations box, is our new cafe, which is called the Dressing Room. And the Dressing Room is funded by the lottery to be a wonderful cafe for the Edge, but most importantly to be a training centre for people with learning disabilities in hospitality and catering and front of house. So we'll be working with 60 people over the next 3 years, developing skills in the kitchen and in the cafe, and then once we're able to do our next bit of building work, which is to take this wall down behind me, we're going to remove this whole wall, and there'll be a lift that takes people upstairs, because at the moment we don't have access to the theatre. The front of house reception and box office area will also become part of our training facility for people with learning disabilities. So this is our beautiful, we're very proud of our fantastic cafe. This is the dressing room, that's Nikki, and Alex and Jim. I would say to anyone who loves people and loves the arts, go and do applied theatre, because it's the best job. I don't know why everyone doesn't want to do applied theatre. It's the best job, and I genuinely think it's the best job in the world. And I feel totally privileged and just hugely lucky to have got into it really young. So I've done it forever, and I got into it really. My sister is a drama teacher, and I would ask her 1,000 questions every day and go and watch her teach. And I sat in and watched her teach quite difficult and challenging young people, and that's how I learnt to do it. And I think you have to go and watch somebody else do it. You can read 100 textbooks, but I think you need to go and experience being in a session or a number of sessions with good practitioners in a number of situations and assist. I think probably being a practitioner's assistant, ideally getting paid for it, obviously, you've got to pay the rent, or as a volunteer, I think that's the best way in for a practitioner. I think it's hard to work with individuals. It's much easier to make a connection with an organisation that already accesses these individuals, because actually recruitment is very hard. Recruiting individuals from out there in the big wide world is really challenging. How do you access people? How do you find somebody who might be homeless, who might be a drug user, who might be long-term unemployed? If they're already accessing an organisation like the Booth Centre or Adaptus or whatever, part of a housing association, for example, they've got the contacts, they've got the connections, they've already built the relationship, and you just need to run the project. So I'd say always try and do it in partnership with an organisation, but always make sure that organisation value what you're offering them, otherwise it just won't work.